Hey, what's up, guys? It is Dan from FightWave, and today I'm excited to be joined by somebody who will be coming on the FightWave schedule programming yet again. We first spoke to him when we were Dapper Media, and now we're more than excited to be speaking to him during Fight Week. I think this is the first time I've had a fighter on in the Fight Week of their upcoming fight. I'm privileged to be joined by one of the most exciting bantamweights on the active roster right now. If you guys did not see his UFC debut against Raoni Barcelos and the fight since then against Tony Gravely, Rafael Assunção, some of the most entertaining fights in the UFC right now, I am privileged to be joined by La Mangosta himself, Victor Henry. Victor, thank you so much for your time, brother. Thank you so much.
What's up? What's up, guys? How you doing?
Victor, thank you so much for the opportunity. First and foremost, ahead of your upcoming fight this weekend, UFC Fight Night, Nicolau versus Perez. You're fighting Rani, Yahya. Just thank you so much for the time in Fight Week. I know you're about to start cutting weight. Really privileged for the opportunity. First and foremost, how's everything been, Victor? Just since the last time we spoke, anything new, anything different? How's life been?
Well, life's good, man. I mean, UFC has given me a lot of opportunity, inside and outside the cage, both, in influence and in and financially. Obviously, UFC. You know, a lot of people complain about fighter pay, but they do fairly well. Of course, the top guys they want to make millions, and even like the guys that are lower on the roster, they want to make millions also. But we're all chasing that check. But all in all, I think they pay their fighters pretty well. So, you know, life outside of fighting remains the same, training, my girl's back in town now. Before she was out, living up north and going to school and going through a internship, and now she's back home and still building that car because well, cars are cars, and life is pretty much the same, just a little bit farther along. I consider myself a martial artist before I consider myself a fighter. I am a martial artist that competes. So I did a lot of training with Cobrinha Kennedy and Charles Cobrinha for this fight. Um, the goal is to continuously adapt and learn and develop new skills. And I think a lot of people, what ends up happening is they think, or rather they get good at a certain skill set and they want to stay there only, because it sucks not being good. Like once you develop a good skill set, you want to stick to that skill set and you want to, dominate the world underneath that skill set. As of right now, the UFC has seen me progress and just really been able to put on a show using predominantly my hands, and which is good. I'm glad to do it. I'm glad to have that ability, but ultimately what we work on in the gym is not just the hands. We work the wrestling, we work with the grappling, we work everything. So just being overall improving my skill set, but still having my base strong. My base um be great. But you know life is life, and especially the life of a fighter where you get to live so much experience in a short amount of time, whether it be through travel because you go to other places, or you know things that happen to you inside the cage. Like we've seen so many freak accidents happen inside the cage. Bisping being lost an eye, Ortega's dislocated shoulders. We've seen unfortunate leg breaks. In my case, it was a kick to the balls. And just to clear things up, as far as the kick to the balls, it was not the impact that hurt so much. In the very first round, if you go and watch the fight, Basharat throws a kick, and I don't remember if it was to the leg or if it was to the body, but at some point during the extension of the kick or the retraction of the kick, it grazed my cup, so I had to reach down. I had to adjust it. Um, that might have happened once or twice. I can't remember too much, but in between rounds one and two, I was still adjusting my cup. So when I went out there, some of my Victor Henrys slipped out from my cup. So it was leg, balls, and then cup. So when he smashed into my cup in that second round, it wasn't necessarily the impact. I mean, there was an impact and that kind of hurt, but what hurt most was everything was bit in between my cup and my leg. That's why it felt so freaking terrible. It wasn't just necessarily the impact. I mean, I've had, accidents before in a fight where somebody kicks me in the balls and it makes the whole noise. But my situation's inside, so yeah, it hurts, but it doesn't hurt like that. But that it felt like I had every STD in the book for like 5 minutes, just wham right there, And then of course all the swelling that started going on. I go to the back, and the doctor in the back, not the doctor at the cage side. I know the cage side doctor at that fight had a lot that he has to answer for, but the backstage doctor, he goes, "All right, you got to take off your cup." And it's like, of course I want to. So I took off my cup, and they were like, he's looking at my nuts, going, "Yeah, those are swollen." I was like, "Yeah, I know. It feels like it." But and then on the way to the hospital, it seems like the ambulance wanted to take the bumpiest road, and it was not fun. But yeah, that's the life, that's whether, it's all a part of the fighter experience. Sometimes it's not just the win or the loss or the fight itself. Sometimes it's the ambulance ride to the hospital. Sometimes it's the swollen nuts, and sometimes it's something completely unforeseen, but that's just what it is.
No, yeah, definitely. And I was gonna mention the infamous tweet by obviously your good friend and coach Josh Barnett. He was definitely cracking some jokes on Twitter after the situation, given he was there. And then also just going back to what you mentioned, obviously the fan base in this sport is give or take on most days, and the criticism that we see that they have for fighters is unlike any other sport. I don't think we've seen a sport where the athlete is more heavily criticized than that of fighting, given the individualistic
Mhm.
nature. I want to ask you just in terms of being able to adapt to that criticism, because after that fight, definitely you had a lot of keyboard warriors just coming out, giving their thoughts on the whole situation, like their doctors, and just coming out here and saying this or that, or oh, he wasn't really hurt, or he wasn't compromised, he was looking for a way out. Where we know that you've had over 30 plus professional fights, and you've fought for a long ass time to want to be giving out now in a fight. So talk to me just about how you've been able to handle the criticism throughout your career, and what it's meant for you to be able to just silence the noise, do what you do best, and turn those critics into fans.
I'll give you a good example at the end of this, but yeah, it's funny. To me, it's funny. It's some of it is freaking hilarious. And when I signed the contract to fight Basharat, I completely understood why Basharat, why where it was, because of course him and his brother, they're undefeated. Of course, they're good fighters, and they threw us in Abu Dhabi, where a lot of his kinsmen are probably gonna go. A lot of London-based Pakistanis flew in. I'm pretty sure a lot of Pakistanis flew in, and just the culture that Muslims have, they want to stick by their own, which fine, I get it, especially since the Nurmagomedovs made it real popular within the Muslim community. Fine, I'm for that, I'm for people standing behind their own, Um, so when they didn't get exactly what they wanted, they of course they're gonna blow up, and I understand that, but it's like, what do you want me to do? Get kicked in the balls just for your enjoyment? Like, like no, it doesn't work that way, But and then when they take to my Instagram or whatever social media outlet and they want to run their mouth the way they do, a lot of it is funny because let's be honest, a lot of them don't know English and they're trying to comment in English on my profile. And it, first of all, it just sounds funny. But secondly, of course, they have nothing but hate and disdain towards me. But it is what it is. I keep all the comments on it because in my eyes, it's just activity on my Instagram. It's activity on my social media. And if there's going to be a lot of activity, that means that my face is going to be out there even more. Kim Kardashian um said it best, you know, all press is good press, no matter how it is. Now, I'm not trying to make a sex tape or anything, but dang, getting famous is getting famous, you know what I'm saying? Um, but back to where you were saying about turning haters into fans, after the fight, after the next day, I'm at the airport and I'm walking with my legs wide open like a cowboy because there's my nuts are still swollen. And I got my backpack on me and I have the UFC issued poster, the one that everybody signs. And I'm in line for my plane and I see two guys in front of me and they're looking at their phone, they're looking at me, they're looking at their phone, and I can see that they pulled up my fight and they were like, "Oh, hey, that's him, that's him." And I know that they were there to support their boy. I get it. They even had the English accents. Okay, cool. So I said, "Hey, you guys here for the fights?" And they were like, "Oh, yeah, yeah. Hey, sorry about what happened, man." And for all I know, they could have been one of the guys talking mad shit online. Who cares, right? And they're like, "Hey, sorry about what happened, man." I was like, "Hey, no." So it is what it is. I reached out and I gave them my poster, and they were like, "Oh, are you sure? Are you sure?" And I was like, "Yeah, dude. Like, you're gonna get more out of it than I do. I'm gonna sign more posters. And this is a UFC event that you paid to come see. You got to see me. All right, cool. Here you go. Even if you weren't going for me, here's a poster." So I figure even if they tune in to hate on me, they're gonna tune in. And if more eyeballs on me, then cool, more eyeballs on me. Hopefully, just not on my balls. You know what I'm saying?
No, yeah, definitely a good way to look at it, and just right now, like you said, just the first of many, and really taking comfort in the journey of fighting, and not so much the moments that are not so much the materialistic or ulterior sides of fighting, because you see a lot of young fighters come into the sport now for all the wrong reasons, Victor. Whether it's they're just coming in for the money, they're coming in for the notoriety, or they think it's an easy ride to the top. We see a lot of the young fighters kind of get weaved out, whereas the people who've been around the block, they've fought the love for martial arts. I feel like you said, it's just those moments that you create that are priceless, because you're going to be able to continue to create those moments, and being able to give another moment to a fan is really what this sport's all about, is creating memories for others while also creating memories for yourself. And I can't think of a more exciting division to have Victor or Henry be a part of right now, like the 135-pound division. I mean, my God, the way that you stack up in this division, there are so many exciting matchups for yourself. A true martial artist and fan perspective, like, you look at, I don't know if you've been keeping up with the division, but, guys like Peyton Talbot who are coming up. Obviously, you had the guys like Adrian Yanez who made their way up. Just so many exciting guys right now outside on the outskirts of the 135-pound rankings that are exciting to watch. What do you make of just this almost recent trend of guys coming in with their own unique styles, their own love for the sport, that are able to make their own uniqueness out of it and bring something new to the sport?
Yeah, well, the 135-pound division is crazy, like you said. But the way I see it is, I think the 135-pound division has the most variety in skill sets. We have great wrestlers, we have great strikers, we have great jiu-jitsu guys. We have and we have not only do we have our specialists, but we also have the well-rounded guys. You got knockout artists, you got people that can wrestle their ass off, and you got people that can just go out there and submit anything. It's real hard in this division. So, you know, the exciting matchups they speak for themselves. I was doing another interview where they were saying, "Hey, what about you and Chito Vera?" And I was like, "I'm down with it, but I know I got to fight my way up the ladder in order to get that." But nobody can really argue that wouldn't be an exciting fight, whether they think he's going to beat my ass or I'm going to beat his, or whether they don't know what's going on, whatever, right? But there is a lot of talent in the 135 division, and it's almost too much to keep up with. It's like, okay, well, who am I fighting next? This guy. All right, so you do some research on him, and he's like, oh, well, turns out he's a NCAA champ, or turns out he used to do this, or he used to do that, or like you said, there's just so many people coming up in this division, and the only thing you can do is like, okay, well, back to the gym and training, because eventually you're gonna have to do the thing, and you got to train for it.
No, yeah, absolutely. And like you said, just the excitement of the division right now with the amount of guys that are coming up, it's almost overwhelming. I feel like as a competitor for you, I can imagine in that division, just to see how far the sport has come, to where you see guys from different backgrounds coming in and making these so many unique styles that are inherently their own, and just being able to go so far along with it. And you mentioned a little bit earlier, going, I want to backpedal a little bit, but for you, your lifestyle has revolved around martial arts for a very, very, very long time. But in those moments where you are able to take a step back and also look back on the moments, but also go towards other passions of yourself. You mentioned the restoration on your car, just being able to work on that as a pastime. What's it been like for you, just to be able to have that balance of like the privilege of just having a time to you can put to other hobbies like car restoration and also training, that balance that you find yourself in?
Well, I mean, I'm a martial artist first, so when I need to train, I need to train. The car has to wait. Like for this entire camp, I didn't work on my car at all. I just kind of, I mean, it sat there and it got dusty, and I'm looking at it and I'm kind of like, man, I want to do this, I want to do this. But then I think, okay, well, I got another practice in about a couple hours, so I gotta go take a nap. I have my routine. And then of course when I'm not in camp, then I'll still go to the gym because of course I got teammates that fight too. Of course they need their rounds, and you know I gotta go there and I gotta help them just as much as they help me. I gotta help them, and it becomes a even though it is very much an individual sport, there's still a fight team that you gotta go to. They help me just as much as I help them, and a lot of times they fly me out to these crazy cities because I gotta corner my friend at I was in Fort Wayne, Indiana, and you know, and it was for an amateur fight. And you would think, oh, well, he's got too many things on his plate. Where I was like, no, I'm gonna go out because I'm a corner these amateur fighters, and you know, some of the amateur fighters they were like, oh man, I don't want to fly out to all the way to Fort Wayne, Indiana, and I was like, no, bro, these are the experiences that you need to have because these are the experiences that are gonna live with you forever. And not 10 minutes after I said that, some dude walks into a bar with an emotional support goat, a goat, a whole ass goat. I'm like, yo, what is this? And then they were like, yo, I don't know what the heck is. I was like, bro, I don't know, but you don't need to know. You just know that for whatever reason, that's kind of normal here, and just be happy for it because you're gonna experience a lot of life. And I have to, I kind of take it as a duty to tell these young fighters that this is the martial arts life. Is this what you want to do? You want to make bigger paychecks? You want to go to cooler places? You got to fight in these. You got to fight in these. I mean, from a couple of my first fights for Respect in the Cage over in California, I fought in Pomona. I was warming up in a bathroom, because the warm up area was so small that I could see who I was going to fight. And I didn't want him to see my game plan. So we went to the bathroom and then we started warming up. And, I don't think a lot of fighters get that. These young fighters, they just want I think what they have in mind is they're gonna fight a couple amateur fights, fight a couple, maybe like go 6-0, 6-0, 7-0, and then just go straight to the UFC or fight on Contender Series and go straight to the UFC. And I'm just like, nah, man, you need to experience life. Use fighting as a caveat to experience life. Don't worry about UFC. Don't worry about One, Pride. I mean, Ryzen, but don't worry about all those. Worry about just being a good martial artist, experiencing the world. And then when you're there, when you get to a certain place where you are making good money, then be happy with it. And then of course keep working to see how good you can get. Be your best, not be the best. What you not don't be what you perceive as the best. Just be better. Every day be better.
No, yeah, definitely. I couldn't agree more. And you mentioned something that I've been trying to see a lot more of from a lot of younger fighters recently, which is just focus on the journey in front of you, focus on creating memories, and like you said, focus on living life through fighting because that's all you're gonna. At the end of the day, the silverware, the money, none of that carries over to the grave. All that you carry over with you is the memories that you create in the sport. And I think we've seen a lot of young fighters, like you said, just coming in. They want to get a quick few amateur fights. They want to build their way up to pro ranks and go to the UFC for the name value or one championship or the PFL, and they focus so much on that, but they don't take a lot out of the journey. What's the message been like just at the gym at CMMA where with the younger fighters coming up? I know you mentioned telling them live life, focus on living life, but has there ever been any moments where you're like just being able to really pass down this knowledge? Because I imagine for you, you not necessarily take on this leadership role, but it's kind of just been bestowed upon you because of how long you've been in the sport. Not necessarily something that you've taken the mantle of, but something that's just came with time. What's that been like for you to kind of take on that role, be an influence, be a role model for a lot of these younger fighters that are coming up?
Like it's weird because sometimes I forget I'm in that position, so I forget that people are watching me. And of course, I'm in there and I try not to slack off and I try to do my best for every practice. But sometimes your mind's just not in it, but you're physically there. So you try your best, whatever, right? But I forget that these younger guys are watching me and I catch them sometimes, and, I just, it's weird because I gotta let them know, hey, relax a little, because I know they're in the middle of fight camp and everything is super serious and things aren't working out. I'm like, hey, you gotta relax a little, tell them to relax a little or tell them they got to pick it up or just I kind of get an understanding of what they're going through because I've been through it myself. Ultimately that CMMA over in Gardena is a wrestling room. And the reason why I say that is not because we just wrestle, but all the head coaches there come from wrestling backgrounds. Of course, we got Chad George. He's the owner of the gym, head coach over there. Josh Barnett, wrestler at heart. We got, David Waters. We got Dom. We got a lot of guys that all the coaches over there, wrestlers. You know, um, so we bring that intensity to wrestling. I mean, to fight practice. So all these younger guys that go in and they think, oh, I'm gonna be doing it this way. It's like, nah, bro. Like we're putting in hard work here because we gotta get to the grindstone no matter what we're doing, whether it be kickboxing, jujitsu that day, sparring that day, or whatever it is. So being able to just be the old guy in the room is fun because at the same time I got all the young guys that I gotta keep up with. So it keeps me young.
Absolutely. Just in terms of, I mean, hey, I'm gonna say something, Victor. You may say, you look old on paper, right? But you don't look a day over 25, and you definitely don't fight like the sport has passed you by. The experience that you carry in that octagon is a reminder just of how skilled of a fighter you are. And Victor, I want to thank you so much for your time during fight week, minus the hiccup from the dog, the dog barking in the background. But we make do with
That's
what we
fine,
can.
bro. Bro, I like dogs. I mean, I like big ones. I like big sloppy dogs. Smaller ones aren't really my thing, but hey, I pet them things too. The reason why I look young is like I got Asian girlfriend, and of course she's like, Vic, go outside, sunscreen. Oh Jesus, here you go. All right, go for it. So she's always taking care of me that way.
No, no, yeah, absolutely. But I gotta say, Victor, I've been a big fan of your skill set since even the regional scene, the Barcelos fight. Just a reminder of how great of a talent you are. The Gravelly fight, and I know that you're gonna be looking to get back in the octagon this week in dominant fashion, reminding the fans of where Victor Henry stands in the division, and more importantly, just putting on another signature staple performance, whether it be in the form of a performance of the night or a fight of the night. I want to ask you just on one final note. Obviously, last year didn't end on the note that you wanted it to end on. Very unpleasant note at that. We've been made aware of that. But on another note, this year, clean slate. You're going in there against Rani Yahya this week. A win over him. The division's in a really interesting spot. Lots of good guys outside that top 15 in that 15 to 35 mixture. What's the goal for you, just in terms of getting back in there? How many times can we expect to hopefully see you in the octagon? And what's your message to the supporters at home?
Well, I'd like to get in there at least 3 times this year. I like to fight 3 or 4 times a year, but UFC has other things in mind. Um, a win over Hani Yahya will be great. Of course, I think that they're using this fight as a test for both of us. I don't think this is one of those fights that they just kind of threw to the wayside and just is they're not keeping an eye on it. I do think they're keeping an eye on it. I think they want to see it, that I could put somebody away. And of course they're trying to see if he still got it. So it's almost like we're both fighting for a certain purpose. Um, but yeah, I'd like to get in there 3 times this year. I want to be more active this year than I have been in the past couple of years.
No, yeah, absolutely. And I cannot wait to watch you fight this weekend, Victor. Thank you so much for your time just today. And more importantly, best of luck during the weight cut. Or not best of luck, but best of, I should say, hopefully the weight cut goes smooth. Sorry, I'm running on very little sleep right now. But, thank you so much for just everything you do as a fighter in this sport. And more importantly, best of opportunity, I should say, in the octagon. May it be a fun moment for you. And to the fans at home watching, do be sure to check out Victor Henry versus Rani Yahya this week at UFC Fight Night. Nicolau versus Perez. Gonna be an exciting fight. It's been me, Dan from FightWave. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed the interview. Do be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and have a great day, guys.